Welcome to Walpole Five-0. I'm Chief John Carmichael. Today is May 2nd, 2017, and before we get into the log entries, a few things to go over. First thing, I want to congratulate Alice from Old Post Road School. Alice won the basketball cup for this week, and we're going to be going out to her house to play some basketball on Thursday. As I've mentioned before, the basketball cup program started down in Gainesville, Florida, with Shaquille O'Neal was actually a member of that department as a reserve officer. And it's a program where they go out and the officers play basketball with some of the kids. We recently did one at Blessed Sacrament School, and this time we're going to bring the hoop out to Alice's home, and some of the officers, including myself, will be out there to shoot some hoops. So congratulations, Alice. Those are usually done on a like a raffle, like during fundraisers and that type of thing. So pretty cool program. And a couple times last year we also went out to some of our schools and played as well. So we look forward to seeing you on Thursday, Alice. Ride to School is also another program, community policing program that we have, and also sometimes done through a raffle or fundraiser. This week we had Gregory, Nico, Ronan, and Ben were some of the recipients of that, and our officers done a great job of going out there, meeting them at the house and giving them an escort to school and kind of showing up in style. So thank you for all the officers that have been doing that. Sometimes I think they're having more fun than the kids, but it's a great program and a good outreach and community policing issue that we offer here. So always a good time. I wanted to mention marijuana implications. I was invited to several communities recently, Cohasset, Hull, Gloucester. There's a few others that towns are struggling with the issues of implicating the marijuana issue, and how to go about that in communities, what the impact can be for communities. So I've been traveling around a little bit. Detective Songens also joined me to help kind of pass out some of the knowledge that we know, and as well as some of the implications that we can have on our youth. So those have been very well attended, and something that I think is important for each community to make sure that they have all the information that they need to make the decisions on the recreational side of marijuana that's coming up. Liquor license suspension. We want to thank the Board of Selectmen, very vigilant in handling the liquor law violations that we've had, and most recently had some issues with Eastern Pearl up on Route 1, where last year around this time they had several incidents where they served minors. As a result, the Board of Selectmen had suspended their license for 7 days. This trend continued into this year. We had 3 more incidents in the beginning of the year, and then a couple others since. And as a result, they had a hearing in front of the Board of Selectmen, and this time the board chose to suspend the license for 6 months, which is pretty significant. And but something that we do take underage drinking seriously. It is a problem. It's something that even recently we've had some incidents that could have potentially been very dangerous, and as a result we try and be vigilant with the liquor violations. I thank the board for this suspension, and going forward Eastern Pearl is going to have to go before the board again on 2 of the other incidents that have happened since. So it's important to note that the town, we want businesses to thrive in Walpole, but we also want to make sure that especially when you're dealing with liquor, that you're verifying these IDs and making sure that you're not putting it in the hands of kids that shouldn't have access to it. So we'll continue to do that, mostly through the compliance checks. We did just get our underage alcohol grant through EOPS, and we should be instituting that grant very soon as well. Walpole Police Youth Academy. So we have opened that enrollment for the Youth Academy. You can get applications for that at the rec center or on our website here at the police station, or even in our lobby. This is only for students, male and female, going into 7th and going into 8th grade this coming school year. So we think this is going to be a great program. We got some field trips lined up. We'll do PT in the morning, and I think it's going to be a great thing. So first come, first serve. So make sure that if you have a child 7th and 8th grade going into that they sign up. Should be a good time. It's going to be that week. It's the last week in June, and then I think mid-July is the second class. Cops for Kids with Cancer. Just want to mention that because they have been good to us here in Walpole. A couple of times they've come out and presented funds to children who were suffering from cancer, and as a result, the Cops for Kids with Cancer is a very good program, and recently they've helped us out here in Walpole. But on Monday and Tuesday, May 8th and 9th, Bertucci's is giving 15% of the proceeds for meals, and they will donate that to Cops for Kids with Cancer. And it's an amazing organization with a great cause. And if you ever follow them, you see them traveling all over Massachusetts, meeting with, these kids that are suffering with cancer, and they donate a lot of support for families that need it. And so it's a great cause. I want to mention gifting marijuana because I think it's on tonight, but Channel 7 was covering a situation with gifting marijuana, and it's important to note that since we've legalized recreational marijuana, the story that they're trying to look at is these companies that are coming into communities and they're distributing and they're delivering marijuana under the guise of recreational. But the problem is, and a lot of times what they'll do is they'll offer a T-shirt or a lemonade mix. I've seen baseball cards, plain plastic baggies that they offer to the person, and what they do is they give them $250 for that minimal item, and in addition to that, they gift them with an ounce of marijuana or 5 grams of the concentrate. So the 94G, the new recreational marijuana law, people can give away an ounce of marijuana, or they can give away 5 grams of concentrate. You cannot do that with remuneration, so there can be no money transfer, and that's regardless of the fact that if you're giving them a T-shirt or some other minimal item of no real value, and then still accept $250. It has to be done between a 21-year-old to another 21-year-old at least, and it can't be advertised or promoted to the public. So you can't be putting it out on billboards or Craigslist or any of these other locations and advertising it to the public and then meeting with somebody and transferring that marijuana. If they are, it's the definition of a drug deal, and you just can't do it. And I know that some people don't like that, but that's what we voted for. And so you can't do that. And my point tonight on this program was that you're subject to arrest, and the person could be subject to criminal charges if they do that, as well as these companies. So just wanted to mention that. But getting into the log, going back to April 24th, wires down, those downed wires on West Street by Montrose Park, and this was caused by a landscaping truck that pulled the wires down. Officer Bethany responded. She did the report for the damage that was done. Mention it because it is a public safety issue. Whenever you see wires down, don't drive over them, don't stand near them, stay away and kind of divert yourself away from that area. And if you see it, just contact us. Always assume that the wires are live and that they can cause injury or even death if you go near them. So just public safety issue. Identity theft. Officer Moriarty conducted an investigation into identity theft. Also right around the same time, he also investigated a fraud, and in both instances where the victims were either stolen identities, and we see this a lot. And really, all you can do is protect your identity as best you can. Make sure that you don't put all of your information out there that people can unscrupulously get a hold of that and take advantage of it. Harassment. Officer Bethany handled a harassment issue, which could result with a harassment prevention order. As mentioned before, these 3 documented incidents of harassment make people eligible to get a harassment prevention order. April 25th, so there was an arrest followed up by a search warrant conducted by Walpole police officers and detectives. This was the result of an April 19th report of a break-in and entering and a theft that occurred in East Walpole. There was evidence of forced entry. There was evidence of the pins actually being taken out of the door hinges and removed so that access could be gained. which is kind of strange, but what this was inside of a multifamily dwelling. And what the officers were able to establish was probable cause to believe that there was a tenant in that building that had accessed that apartment, the other apartment, and as a result, our detectives sought and were given a search warrant as well as an arrest warrant. Detective Benner, Detective Griffin, Detective Sullivan, and Detective Sergeant Kelleher worked on this case along with other officers, and as a result of the search warrant, a female was arrested for receiving stolen property, and detectives and officers did recover and seize some jewelry that was located in the suspect's apartment. And important to note is that during the break-in and entering in this theft, there was a significant amount of jewelry that was stolen from the apartment, some of which were very close to this person, the victim, family heirlooms and that type of thing, so very important to them. So this was this investigation is ongoing at this point, but there was an arrest made. April 26th, suspicious activity. Officers Kevlich, Murphy, Crown, and Slavin, they went up to the area of Siemens on Coney Street. There was a report of suspicious activity. They ended up finding a female who was defecating in the woods, and the woman was not clothed. Officers identified two individuals. Basically, we call that a field interview observation. Found out that these people were homeless and were living in the woods, and were removed from that area and spoken to about it. There was a DARE scam. So if you're getting calls from DARE, Drug Abuse Resistance Education, DARE, this is not a scam. The problem is, I think sometimes, or what might have come across, that they were DARE Walpole, like the Walpole Police was doing the DARE program. We did have that program years ago. In fact, I can remember it was it got cut at some point, and what ended up happening is, it was all funded through grants and everything, so Walpole had to stop offering that program. But in any event, the agency is legitimate. It's DARE America, so it's a national organization, and there are still departments out there that offer the DARE program, usually because through local funding and that type of thing. But if you do get some calls, first of all, they shouldn't be saying that it's the Walpole Police Department DARE program. Hopefully they're saying it's DARE America, or it's a national organization. So other than that, maybe ask a few questions if you ever get calls like that, and trying to confirm in any way you can. A warrant arrest. The officers conducted a brief warrant sweep which resulted in the arrest of a 28-year-old East Walpole man. That individual was taken into custody, booked, and then immediately just transported to court. Suspicious activity on April 28th. Officers reported to East Walpole for a person who believed that somebody had broken into their house. And when the officers, obviously a scary situation, whenever a house is broken into when people are home. But it turns out that when the officers got there, they located a picture that had fallen off the wall and then hit the light switch, which caused the homeowner to believe that there was somebody in the house, and rightfully so. Probably a very scary situation for them, but best turnout. It ended up being just something that that happened in the home that led this person to believe that there was someone in there. So everything was okay at that house. Summons, Officer Giblin summons an individual for operating without a license after a motor vehicle stop. As I mentioned before, officers can choose to arrest in those situations, but the officer chose to summons the person in following this motor vehicle stop. So great job by Officer Giblin. He's been very active out there, and he is one of our newer officers, been out of the police academy for about 6 months now, and he's doing a great job out there. So good job, Officer Giblin. Protective custody. So Lieutenant Kilroy is kind of a funny story, I guess. But Lieutenant Kilroy, who was sitting in the police station, observed a man stumbling on the side of the police station, and he monitored this man for a couple of minutes, and then saw him kind of stumble over to one of the businesses and begin to urinate on the wall. Officers then, he alerted other officers. They responded over there, and they determined this man was highly intoxicated. and as he was stumbling and unsteady on his feet and everything. So the officers placed a man from Rosendale into protective custody and brought him into the police station. He was very uncooperative during the protective custody point, as well as during the brooking process and afterwards. But words of wisdom, if you're going to get, if you're drunk, the last place you want to be is next to the police station and urinating on a building. So not good judgment here, but in any attempt, sadly enough, this turned into an emotionally disturbed person, EDP, where I have to commend our dispatchers, because this individual ended up like an attempted suicide type of event inside of one of our cells, and our dispatchers monitor that. We have cameras. We constantly monitor and we constantly check. And they saw this man start to take some steps toward either, as a cry for help or whatever else. And they were able to alert other officers who went in there, intervened, and we ended up sectioning the individual and taking them to the hospital. But they're okay, luckily, and we're glad that he is. Harassment on April 29th, there was harassing phone calls of a victim. This is an ongoing situation which is under investigation by Officer Doherty. It's also on the 29th, a noise complaint. This came in at the VFW on Robbins Road. It was a private party that was taking place at the VFW, and apparently the party moved outside into the parking lot a little bit. Got loud. So, we got a few calls on it. Officers Powell, Beaverman, and Foley went up there, and they were able to move the party successfully back into the building and restore peace there. An arrest, officers responded to, this was over the weekend, officers responded to a disturbance. We got a call that there was a person that was brandishing a knife as well as a baseball bat. The officers, this disturbance was occurring at a home. The officers arrived, they took necessary precautions, and they interviewed a victim who stated that they were assaulted with the knife and with the bat. And as a result, a 50-year-old person was placed under arrest for the assault with a dangerous weapon, i.e. the knife and the baseball bat. And when we're speaking of assault with it means without battery, so that means that the person may have a weapon. They're threatening to use that weapon. However, there was no contact, there was no battery that took place. So when there is a threat with this knife or with this bat, that is assault, and as such, they were charged with assault with a dangerous weapon. On April 30th, a suspicious person, it was a female that was walking in and along Plimpton Street late at night, and our midnight shift officer Vinzagera, Officer Wilmot, responded, and they could not locate that individual. Assisting in another agency on Ebolas will be on the lookout. This was reported by Dover PD. One of those well-being checks requested on a male, an elderly gentleman who was missing for some time. We did find some information that individual was possibly on 109. Walpole is in Dover area, like by Bubbling Brook, and Officer Haber was able to go up there and check for that individual, and then several hours later that person was located about 7 a.m. in that morning and found to be safe, so that's good. Arrest, shoplifting at Walmart. This is kind of classic. I mean, this individual went into Walmart and they stole 2 bicycles and essentially took the 2 bicycles, walked them out of the store, walked them to their car, and put them in the car. And then instead of leaving, they figured they'd go back in for round 2 and went back into the store, filled up another cart full of merchandise, and then attempted, and now they're under surveillance of loss prevention, and the officers end up getting up there. Female from Rosendale had made it out into the parking lot to the car with the second cart of goods and was arrested. There was over $500 worth of merchandise because you have the bicycles as well as now another cart full of property. So that individual was arrested, and rightfully so. So good job. On May 1st, parking issues. Officer Moriarty went to Clapp Street for vehicles parked on the street. Some of them belonged to residents on the street. Some parking tickets were issued to others. One of the main things with this is some of it's students that are at the high school that are parking down there on the street and then walking up to school. We get that, but it's all posted down there primarily for that reason, because the neighbors, years ago, there was too much parking and abuse, and so we do respond up there. So just as a precaution to people at the high school, don't park on Clapp Street or any of those areas where it's posted and there's no parking, because we'll get complaints and we'll go up there, and we have been issuing citations up there. So take appropriate action on that. Another arrest for shoplifting. This was Officer Crown, Officer Slavin, Officer Kevlich, and Murphy. Interestingly, Officer Crown is the field training officer for Officer Slavin, and Officer Kevlich is the field training officer for Officer Murphy. So they are training them for the 12 weeks since they've been out of the police academy. But they responded up to a Route 1 location for a shoplifter, and the shoplifter was being uncooperative as reported by loss prevention. So the officers went up there, took that female into custody, and found out that they were stealing mostly toiletries, but that they had concealed all of these items inside of their clothing and everything. Some of which include, for whatever reason, shower caps and a lot of razor blades. And those razor blades are that's an expensive item. You buy razor blades, they get you on those. I don't know. So I can see how those are a hot commodity for shoplifting. You actually see in the stores they'll actually lock all that stuff up. So the arrest of shoplifting resulted in an arrest from a female from Norfolk, Massachusetts. And so that is all we have for this week. So that concludes this episode of Walpole Five-0. I want to thank you for joining me and hope to see you next time. In the meantime, Alice, we're looking forward to playing you in Basketball Cop this week. And again, congratulations to Gregory, Nico, Ronan, and Ben for their winning the ride to school this week. Hope you had fun. Thank you.